Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to look at how to animate objects in Blockbench. Blockbench is a free and easy to use 3D modeler. As I mentioned last time, you can either download the app and use it as a standalone app on your computer, or you can use the web version. Since it's a tutorial, I'm just going to use the web version. And as you can see, it's available at blockbench.net. So let's go ahead and click on Open Web App. We're going to choose generic model because, as I mentioned in the last video, this is the format that you want to use if you're trying to create this for game engines such as Unity and Unreal. And we're going to go ahead and click on create new model. We're going to just name this anim test. And we're going to save all the defaults. We're not going to make any changes because in this video, we really aren't concerned about the modeling so much as animating the model. So we're just going to click on confirm. And as I mentioned before, there are three main parts of the workflow. There's the edit, there's the paint, and there's the animate. We're going to skip painting because, again, we're going to focus on animate. I'm going to do a separate tutorial for paint. Down here is the way you add a new mesh. So we'll click on that. We'll accept the cuboid and the other defaults. Now, this is what you want to do if you want to animate. You need to add a group, which is basically synonymous with bone. And don't take my word for it, that's what the application is about to do. I'm going to click on a button that says add group, but the name of the group is bone. So bones function as groups in this, and groups function as bones. Why they aren't more consistent with the naming, I don't know, but that's the way they did it. So over here, if I look at add group, and I click on that, as you can see, it calls the group bone. So again, the terminology is interchangeable. Now, I believe if I had multiple objects selected, like if I had multiple cuboids or spheres or whatever, and I create the bone, I believe they'll automatically be in the bone folder. If not, you can just drag and drop. So we're just going to grab cube, overlap, drop, and now you can see it's indented, which is typically how something is shown as being a child to another object or linked to it, subordinate to it, whatever verbiage you want to use. So that's how you add a bone, by clicking on add group, and then you can drag and drop the objects into that group. Okay, so now, having done that, we can just go over to animate, and we are ready to animate. The first thing you have to do is you have to add an animation. Keep in mind, objects can have multiple animations. Like if you think of a humanoid character, they might have an idle animation, a run animation, a jump, attack animations. So you have to add an animation. We can just save the defaults, doesn't really matter in this case. We can click on confirm. And then what you'll notice is down here, you automatically have bone and rotation, position, and scale. So I want to pause briefly and point that out. So that's what you're going to be doing here. You're changing the position of an object, you're rotating an object, you're scaling an object, and that handles a lot of animations. You're just not really deforming the object itself. So in other words, you're not going to have like a single vertex move independently and deform the size of the object. Everything is really being changed relative to each other. Okay, so what we're going to do is up here, you can see there's a 0. So you can actually change this. So let's change this to 1 second. And you notice down here, there's now a blue closed bracket, the 1 second mark. So that's showing you that's the end of the animation. So what we're going to do is we're going to create keyframes at the beginning, middle, and end of the animation. For you, it may not necessarily be in those positions, but again, I'm just trying to show you the basics. Now, as far as which one are you affecting, you have to be selecting the corresponding tool. So this is move, so that's position. This is resize, so that'd be scale. And then this is rotation, and they do keep the name same as rotate. So that's what we'll be doing. And to be clear, this is just going to be a simple animation. It's not meant to look like anything in particular. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a keyframe. Let's start with rotation. So let's click on rotation. We'll go ahead to go to keyframe. We'll click on add keyframe. And basically, it locks in that rotation is what you've done. So now we're going to go to the ½ second mark. We're going to click on a new keyframe, and now we're going to rotate this 180 degrees. You can see over here it's changing, so I could indeed just type like 180. And then we'll come here, and we'll do 180 more. So like a lot of applications, you can either do it visually or if you need the precision, you can do this. I don't want to get too much into the complexities of animation, but you might not always want the first and last frame to be the same because then you have two frames and you might create an accidental pause where you don't want it. So you might not necessarily want this at 360. You might want it to be like 358. And then that way, when this loops, it comes back to that. So again, I don't want to get into a big discussion, but just be mindful you may not necessarily want the last frame to be exactly where the first frame is, or else you're going to have two frames and it might create an odd stutter. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. And so if we run, okay, so it did indeed circle around. Now, if I had painted this, it'd be more obvious, but I think it does demonstrate that it is working. All right, so next one, let's go to resize, and we're again going to go to keyframe, add keyframe, and we're not going to do 0.5. We're going to do right here, and we're going to do another keyframe, and then this is scale, so we're going to make this smaller. So, and again, basic navigation, left click and hold is rotate the camera. As you can see, when you're changing, it's symmetrical, so it's moving in both directions. And we can like shrink this too, although it doesn't vertically for some reason. Oh, I see. It's keeping. Oh, I know why. Because that's the pivot point. The bottom is the pivot point, so it's shrinking down to that. So okay, so the horizontal and the depth does scale, but if it's vertical, because of the pivot point, I believe it's the pivot point that's causing that. So it's only pushing down. But that's okay, we already have a separate up animation. And then we'll come over here and we'll add another keyframe. Keyframe, add keyframe. And then this one will scale back out to 1. Okay, so you're probably saying, well, why did I put this frame here? The reason why I put this frame here is to demonstrate that you can just move these. So if you've used other animation programs, you would know that, but I just want to demonstrate that this is not etched in stone. You can change these to try to get the exact look that you wanted. Or maybe you want it to be slower at first and then faster at the end. So it's kind of like revving up to power. There's other ways you can do that too, but sometimes you can, just by where the keyframe is, make a certain effect happen. Okay, so the third one will be position. So let's go to move. Let's go back to 0. Let's do keyframe, add keyframe. And then again, we'll come to 0.5. We'll just move this up vertically. Again, shows the position. Come here, and then we'll add another keyframe, and then we'll just go to 0. So again, I'm trying to reinforce that you can either do it visually in the workspace, or you can do it here for more precision. And there's certain tools I'm not even looking at yet. This is just meant to be introductory. All right, so let's just run it. So it spins, moves up, and then comes back down and gets smaller. Again, I can't think of why you would do that in why you'd want that particular combination, but again, I'm just trying to show you the basic tool sets. And as I mentioned, there's a few other things you can change. So like just as we had this be 1 second, what if we decide that we want this to be, I could just highlight it, there we go. So double click, change it to 2 seconds, and now suddenly the animation is out here, so you can just move these again as we already demonstrated. So very versatile. You haven't etched anything into stone. You can adjust things. And then we do play. And so now it's slower. Okay, I think that's about it for this video. I'm just trying to show you the basics. Again, this particular set of animations is kind of nonsensical. You probably wouldn't need this in an actual animation. Maybe 2 of these, like if you have like if you have like a washer or a nut and it's coming off of like a bolt, then it would spin and it would get higher, but it wouldn't get smaller though. So you could understand why maybe some of these would go together, but this particular combination is probably nonsensical. But again, it's just to show you the tools. So again, quick summary, when you're in edit mode, You have to establish the bone and what is a child to which bone, and then you go to animate, and then you can animate those. So yes, you can have additional objects, additional bones, having them animate independently. Again, this is just meant to be introductory to let you know the basics. And if you want to see something more advanced, just let me know and I will be happy to do that. So, okay, I think that's about it. I hope you found this interesting and please do enjoy the rest of your day.